I just can't make it rain subliminal without
Came too far to turn back.
The return of the lyricist. Get it together.
Yo, what's up? You're listening to You Good with Mike Brown, a mental health podcast presented by Loudspeakers Network and your boy, Mike Brown, your man, your whatever. This episode features Sarah Cooper. Sarah is a writer, a comedian, and Jamaican. I didn't know she was Jamaican. Before we started taping that episode, I was like, yo, you Jamaican? And we had a whole conversation about that. And we talked a lot about the roles of, I guess, like corporate America. I mean, I think I'm one, she's one, and I'm one of the comics who's like did some time in corporate America and kind of seeing how the machine works from the inside. And I think like we kind of get into a little bit about not what would probably be called like white voice. I guess that's what it'd be called. You know, like your phone voice or whatever. Yeah, your corporate America talking about that, whatever, right? Which I'm not fluent in at all anymore because I'm out the matrix. But you know, we do talk about that. She has 2 books out now, or by this time this is out, the other book should be out. But definitely follow her. That should be Sarah CPR on everything. Also follow me at Yo Mike Brown. Follow the podcast at You Good Pod. Please rate, review, subscribe, you know, share, tell somebody. We're doing real grassroots. You know, we're the redheaded stepchild of the network. We're not talking about politics and pop culture over here, so no, we're not. But you know, I'll be better, guys. I'll be better with like doing a promo and going on the podcast and all that. But yeah, like this, I'm trying to keep this as a nice, safe space for right now. But you know, check out the episode. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what's going on at the workplace. Just holla at me, man. Let it connect. And that's it. Check out this episode. Peace.
I don't even say that I'm Jamaican in my set anymore.
Why
I say
not?
my parents are Jamaican because it's just I'm too many things. And I feel like it's overwhelming for the audience because I'm so many things. I'm like ethnically mixed, but I'm Jamaican culturally.
Yeah.
I'm an immigrant, but I sound super white.
Yeah.
And like I totally assimilated as a little kid. I was correcting my
Really?
parents.
Did you go with like black kids or like white kids or like what?
Well,
Like when you
a lot of white kids.
And you are officially here. I don't want to like Trump situations. Like
No,
Okay.
the wall will not affect me.
Okay, cool.
I'm here.
It's like shit. I don't want to.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I think, then
Yeah.
again, who knows? Because he has started going after people who
Yeah.
were like naturalized citizens.
Yeah, I was
so-
telling my dad. I was like, "Yo, I know you was born over there. Make sure your shit's right." He's like, "It's all right." I'm like, "All right." Cool."
Yeah, no, but I have an American
Okay.
passport.
Okay. Good.
I have to like renew it soon, and I'm scared
Okay.
about that. But for now, I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I'm ethnically African, German, Chinese. I look Dominican.
Yeah.
But I don't speak Spanish or anything like that. I'm Jamaican. I'm an immigrant, but I'm also like, I just all this stuff. So I just feel like it's too many things for a person to understand.
But see, that's the thing. It's like, but isn't like stand up? We're trying to make them understand all of this.
Yeah. But we're also trying to make them laugh and like, I don't know. You're right. I should tell everybody everything.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily right.
Okay.
I just like to like put the other side of it out there and just be like, and why don't we do that and try
Yeah.
to like unpack all that shit? Because
Yeah.
like there was a time when like I was scared to do, not even scared, but just like I wanted to talk about quote unquote black shit, but it wasn't really black shit. Mm-hmm. And then as time passed, I was like, oh, a lot of stuff they talk about is like either related to like hip hop culture or sometimes it's like West Indian things. And I still want to talk about all these things, but I know that like my audience might not always be at the same base level of reality with me. Like they're like, man, I'm from Ohio. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
but
so,
it's the age-old struggle of do I go niche and get people that are really like understanding where I'm coming from? It
Yeah.
might be a smaller group, but they're super passionate and they get me.
Yeah.
Or do I go something that's more broad, where like more people will listen, but they're kind of listening and they like you, but you're not everything. And I always say go niche.
Don't go niche?
Go niche.
Go niche?
Go niche.
Why go niche?
Because okay, so this is the thing that I learned about stand-up too, is like if you're performing and there's somebody who has like a mean look on their face, they're not laughing, and then there's someone else who's like really getting you, your tendency might be to try to get that guy who's not laughing, but you ignore that guy. You totally play to the person who's laughing, who's getting you, because if you can get that going, that kind of starts like a ripple effect that might affect that guy. But if you go after that guy and then he brings you down and he's still not laughing, that's like not what you should do. So it's that ripple effect. So if you go for a niche, that person who really, really gets you and can't stop talking about you, then it'll spread. Versus trying to just please everybody, which is what I try to do.
But it's, I mean, I feel like I try to please everybody too, and it's like a weird, I don't know where that like comes from. Like that's something I do think about. Like, is it the growing up and being like knowing that you're like being black and that like everybody's kind of like out to get you, and you kind of grow up with that in you, and then it's like that need to kind of please people becomes like a defense mechanism. Yeah. Where it's like there was one episode where I was talking about sometimes I leave the house and I'm just like, I just don't want to fuck up anybody's day. You know what I mean? I just want to not be a problem. You know what I mean? But it's also like the fear of, I remember growing up and hearing about Amadou Diallo getting shot up because he had a wallet and people thought it was a gun. And I'm like, if he can get shot for that, and you see other kids getting shot for, and like people, we're just getting murdered by the police, and that's like just one of the many things, right? It's like, well, then I just got to learn how to just like blend.
Right. Oh, no, I'm the same way. It's just so sad. It's kind of like Google's motto, don't be evil. It's like, don't fuck up anybody's day, but it's not a positive thing. It's not, it's like, don't notice me, blend in, you know, everything's fine, versus like, here I am, everyone look. And I'm the same way. I was just talking to my therapist about this actually on Friday, because growing up, like both my sisters had a lot of medical issues, things that they were going through. So when I came along, I was kind of like the perfect one with everything together, and so
the only Dominican in the family.
No, we all kind of look Dominican, but so my thing was always like, everything's fine, don't look at me, everything is fine. But even when things weren't fine, and I realized a lot of that was fear of when I tell someone that everything's fine, them not caring. Yeah. Because all of my problems growing up were nothing compared to what my sisters were going through. And so like I always had this thing like, well, I'm in pain, but it's not anything compared to them, so it can't be that bad. And then that just made me push it down further and further.
That is, I was doing this storytelling show yesterday, and I was talking about like how when I was in the hospital, like I only stayed for 24 hours because like I looked around at everybody else and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm misusing resources. You know, I'm like, I have my like anxiety depressive disorder, and I was like at a breaking point. However, this person right next to me is schizophrenic. Yeah. They need these resources. Right. I can figure this shit out either on my own or with a therapist or with medication or something, but I know enough how to be a functioning member of society, even with any problems I have. Like I can still just like be, you know what I mean? And it's such a thing to feel that like it's not even victim-y, you know what I mean? To be like, oh, I'm going through something, but it's not as bad as everybody. So it's like being the victim and the hero at the same time.
Yes, maybe that's part of it. You get to like save yourself.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
because it's like you.
But actually, what you're doing is you're minimizing your problems in order to be the hero.
Exactly. It's such.
And then you're not even really a hero.
So you're not really a hero. So it's like the thing I always talk about, like, oh, it's just perspective. It's like an optimist versus a pessimist, or like the whole thing of like, is the glass empty or half full? But like, and that's why like I do the podcast, because I like talking about this shit, especially for artists of color, because it's like I know that it's like sometimes like. Looking on the outside in, like when I remember when Key and Peele was getting big, and I was like, I see what they're doing. At first, I was like, I don't really vibe with what they're doing, but I fuck with it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, hey, these are two black guys doing their thing. And then sometimes I remember a lot of my black friends like, oh, we don't fuck with that. That's not for us. And people still say, oh, it's not for us. But I'm like, but yeah, they said the same thing about Blackish when it first came out. Blackish?
Right.
I'm not what Blackish. And then 5 years, years later, seasons up, like, oh, yeah, they're doing it. It's like, yeah, this is, if you're a black person, be it African-American, Jamaican, Haitian, anything, your art is inherently black. Right?
Yeah.
And thus,
It's tough though.
is like, I mean, I know you're like in a lot of like the corporate America. Like, how is that? Like, how is?
Well, it's a lot of suppressing it,
Yeah.
because I always talk about this, like, you're supposed to bring your full self to work and be authentic, and that is supposed to be really important. But if you're in a primarily male, primarily white space, that's the norm. And if you don't want to talk about cars or there's certain things that like you might not want to do, but you have to sort of pretend, or there might be things that you want to do and that might throw everybody off and make them think you're weird. So you kind of like hide that part too. And I think it's just true in like every office. Like there's always a set of norms that get established and then everybody just tries to like
fit into it,
fit into those norms.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the other thing too about like how, and not to make it like too racy, but like, you have a lot of, in America.
You're not using the word racy properly.
Yeah, yes, I am racy. My heart is feeling a lot racy. Someone bring a woman of a certain race in here. I'm feeling racy. My bad. But it's just just like historically, you have the white American male who've built a lot of these institutions and all these things and like these companies. And so of course, historically, that kind of vibe will, survive.
Be dominant.
Through time. Yeah, and be dominant through time. But I also think that now that, I don't know like with the corporate America structures, but when you have more diversity, I think it's room for those things to change. But it's only if the people of diverse backgrounds are being their authentic selves, and I guess like the patriarchy of that white male is willing to start seeing those people as they see themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like that, like, I was saying with like not having a manager anymore. It's like, it's not freeing, but it is very freeing in a sense of like, I can talk for myself, and I can speak for myself and have the conversations I want to have. However, I do know that sometimes it's going to be a little harder for me, depending on which room I'm trying to get into, because they're going to be like, they might look at me like, man, who's this black dude that wants to come and talk to me, or who's this nobody or whatever, until like I'm some, like Michael B. Jordan was just the guy who got killed in the first season of The Wire. Until he became.
Thanks for giving it away.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, guys. That show from 2001. Yeah, so Michael B. Jordan dies. Don't worry, he lives on, and then he dies again in every movie he's in. But anyway, he died in Black Panther.
Not Creed.
Oh, he's probably going to die in the next one.
Yeah.
He didn't die in Creed 2? Did he? I didn't see it. Well, that'd be a spoiler.
That would be a spoiler.
That would be a spoiler. Don't worry, he's gonna get killed in Creed 3. It's gonna be over. I don't know. I'm just talking shit. But it takes a minute for Michael B. Jordan to become Michael B. Jordan. It's like,
are you comparing yourself to Michael B. Jordan right now?
You know his name is Michael Jordan Brown? Did you know that?
No.
Swear to God.
Really?
Yeah.
He moved the B to the middle?
Yeah, because he was joining SAG, and so you know who else is Michael Brown?
Who?
Michael Ealy. Michael Ealy Brown.
Oh, you know who else is Michael Brown?
Who?
Michael Brown. Right?
Oh my God, I hate you so much. Ooh, look how she leaned into it. Sarah came to play. Bars. It's like, it's just a thing of like how people see, like, do you know the story Ryan Coogler? Do you know his story?
Yes.
You know, like how he did you know a story about Creed? Do you know that story?
Ryan Coogler and Creed?
Yeah.
No.
So, Ryan Coogler. He did Fruitvale Station. While he was filming Fruitvale Station, he ran into Sylvester Stallone, and he said, "Hey, man, I got this idea for this movie. It's based on, Creed's son." And somebody's like, "Yeah, whatever," right? Fruitvale Station comes out. It's like a big hit. And then Sylvester Stallone and him meet again. He's like, "Yeah, whatever you want to do, we'll do it. I'll be in your movie. I'll do all these things." And it's one of those things where it's like, I understand how Sylvester might have just looked at him as just like another aspiring filmmaker.
Yeah.
And like, you don't get any of my time.
Yeah.
But it's not until
How do you
Fruitvale.
just run into Sylvester Stallone?
I mean, L.A.
You just run.
You were in Cali. You know how it goes. Like,
Well,
you just,
yeah, and actually Fruitvale Station, I remember
Yeah.
seeing that on the map, subway map, and I was like, it'll always be associated now with that movie and that story, which is actually kind of cool.
It's incredible. And I remember just like, I didn't remember the station when it, like, everything was happening. I remember that it was Oscar Grant, and I remember just following that case and seeing seeing all of the cell phone footage that was going online.
It was really well done too.
It was really well done. I remember watching that movie, I think when it was in previews or whatever, before it was like nationwide, and I saw it the day, I think, the Michael Brown verdict from yeah, there's another one. Jesus Christ, I mean, but like, I remember seeing that the day the verdict came out and just being upset at white people for like a whole 24 hours.
Well, how do you feel now? I mean, it seems like a story like
white
that
people,
comes
they're
out.
all right. They're great. No.
Comes out every. Yeah. How does that affect you? I mean, as a black man,
it's rough. It's rough because like, I know that for people, I feel like I'm not what America would look at traditionally or stereotypically black male, whatever that is. I feel like I don't fit into all those categories because, like, consciously in my life, I tried to make sure that, like, no, you're not going to tell me. Like, I can't play basketball to this day because I'm an asshole. Somebody was like, "Oh, you should play." "Oh, he's going to play basketball."
But that's
and I
the
said,
thing,
"No."
people, even if you aren't, people see you and they think all those things.
Yeah, which is fine. But then I'm like, no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like fun to me. Like, no, that's not me.
I love that.
And I don't, but it's one of those things when I look at how much money these basketball players, I'm like, you dumbass. Like, you should have fucking picked up a ball. You 6'3", you can't dunk or nothing. What's wrong with you? Like, that's how I think about it now. But it does kind of mess with the psyche a little bit because on one side, it's like, I don't, I hate that the cops are able to just seemingly just get away with hey, how you doing? Oh, look, it's the police. No, I'm joking. I hate that the cops are just like able to kill, I guess, like black kids or whatever, black people. And but the other side is like, yo, I kind of like the police, yo. Like, in the sense of, if something's going down, I gotta call somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have I don't have homies with the hammer. And you know what? I do know some people with some guns and shit like that. But like, what am I gonna? Like, what am I gonna do?
Some people with some guns?
Yeah, of course, man. We all know people. I mean, maybe you know.
I don't think I do.
Well, you know me. Now you know somebody.
Shit.
So if you know 6 degrees, 6 degrees of separation.
Wait, but I thought we were 1 degree.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, like,
Oh, okay.
we have a degree. So, I mean, it's 3 degrees because I know some people. And if not, I know people who know people. Chris, you know people with guns? Yeah. Okay. See,
Wow.
she has the guns on her right now. Everybody has guns. I mean, whatever. But it's a thing
This
that
podcast is terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying, right? It just gets so real. But it's something that, like, I think about, like, because I do know the importance of the police, but I also think that the police wouldn't be as important if society
when
would
you
police
see a
themselves.
cop car, do you get nervous?
Depends.
And if you have a gun on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends if the homies are there with me. If my lawyer's not around, then I'm just nervous.
I feel like that's a great way to get out of a ticket. Just say, well, my lawyer, you know, because they won't see that coming.
They won't. Oh, no. It's
and also your
scary.
tits. I got out of a ticket with my tits.
Really?
Yes, I did. I feel so bad about it to this day.
How?
To this day, I feel bad about it.
What did you do? Did you, like, how do you do that?
Okay, so I got rear-ended, and then I ended up rear-ending the guy in front of me.
Okay.
And I was going to get a ticket, rightfully so, probably, for rear-ending the guy in front of me.
Okay.
So the cop is in the cop car like writing the ticket to me.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a very low cut top. I get out of my car. I go over to his door.
Mm-hmm.
He opens the door. I lean all the way over. All the way over. Like my tits are in his face.
Oh my God.
He literally ripped that ticket up and gave me his card and told me to call.
Wow. Wow. You know what? See, and I'm not even mad at it. That's hilarious. But it's also like, as a guy, it's like, it's not like I can just go be like, yeah, so I got out my car and I just put my crotch right in his window.
I know.
Like that doesn't.
I know. But as a woman, I go through so much other shit that I feel like this is reparations.
I like, well, what do you, take me on a journey through being a woman. Like, what are all the things?
All the things?
Yeah, like what are most of the, I mean,
You have a girlfriend.
I know, but like, but you know, she's she's Italian American. She
doesn't speak English.
Yeah, you know, no, she doesn't speak English. Yeah, she's made a pasta. I don't know what's going on, but it's like I think that she, I don't. Okay, I think specifically as a woman of color in America, like tell me all the things, because you know. I don't, all I know is what I see on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like when I worked in the corporate America, there were just like little things that only like afterward I really got annoyed with.
Like what?
So I was asked to speak in front of the entire company, and this is a 60,000 person company. So that's a big deal. And I was pretty proud of that. But I was told in front of my entire team by someone in like headquarters or whatever. Yeah, Sarah, really excited to have you do this. You know, we needed some diversity on stage, so it's really great that you could be there. And I was just like, oh, thank you, but fuck you. Like, I think I'm here for other reasons, not just for diversity, right? And so it was just really like demoralizing.
Yeah, it is. But you're also diversity to them. You know what I mean? It's not like he's wrong. Like, you know what I mean? It's such a weird thing.
When you say, hey, you're here because you're black, no other reason.
That's the
makes
problem.
Me feel like shit.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the part. Like if it's like, hey, I love your work. This, you know, you're great. This and the third. Also,
So I don't know. I'm on the fence about this because
like, let's talk about
I do have like sometimes I'll have women writing me and they're like, oh, we'd love you to speak at this place. We really need some diversity, and it just. I don't know. It just makes me feel bad. It makes me feel like I want you to ask me because you want me, not because you want bonus points. You know?
Yeah.
It turns me off a little bit. So it's like I want people to think about diversity, but I don't want to hear about it in that context. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Like, why are you agreeing with me on this?
Yeah, girl, I got you. Yeah.
So what it's like for a woman is that a man like you won't back me up. I'm just kidding.
Whoa. Listen, I believe you. I believe everything you said. I'm a feminist. We'll be right back. Just cut to commercial. Put a commercial in. No, I'm understanding. It's just like, because I try to put it in context for me as well, is like, as like I did some speeches at high schools, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, I know that like when I talk about mental health, that there aren't a lot of people of color who talk about it. You know what I mean? And like just open, like, oh, let's just talk about this shit. And I can kind of understand where it's like, oh, this is good because you're not in this space or whatever. And it's, to me, I kind of get into this thing of like, well, I know that I am a person of color. I'm a black person talking about mental health, like, openly, but I also have this podcast where I'm like, yeah, and everybody else on this podcast, we're all talking about this shit. So it's like, you might look at me and be like, oh, that's the guy. But it's like, actually, you can ask any one of these people to talk about it if you want to. Like, it's a conversation that we can have. Mm-hmm. So it's a weird thing because it's like even like what, and this is, I'm not comparing myself at all, but it's like look at what Jackie Robinson went through when he was playing baseball. And he was like the first Negro guy. And it takes him to break the barrier. Until now, it's not like a big deal. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I try to put myself in that position of like, okay, well, they might only see me as this black person now. right? And it's like, but if you do,
They didn't bring him on the team because he was black.
yes, they did. No, they didn't. But yes, they did.
No, they brought
he
him on
was
because
good.
he was talented.
But also,
No way. Somebody needs to look this up because I feel like they...
get Chadwick Boseman on the phone.
Is it...
Call up Chadwick.
Wait.
He played every black biopic person. I know.
So they were like, "Oh, we need to integrate, and you're the person." Is that?
Yeah,
how, that's what
wasn't it
happens?
that's what happened, right? Yeah, go
don't know.
to. Do you know? Was that what happened?
I mean, I'm on her side.
Okay, cool. Of course. Women are going to stick together, but yeah, I don't.
So that's fascinating because if they were like, "Yeah, we need to integrate, and you're the guy," then maybe that. Yeah, I guess that
Right?
is a similar experience.
That's how I mean, it might not have been, but it's like, you know, that like they had to be like, he had to take certain lumps in order for there to be like a Barry Bonds.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
not, and he just, I don't know why I don't watch baseball. It was just like a Kanye song. But you know what I mean? Like, you needed that for that, you know? Because it's like, he could have been, it's like, if you were going to integrate boxing, you wouldn't have Muhammad Ali be the guy. You couldn't. You couldn't have Mike Tyson be the guy. Like, if they were like, oh, let's integrate boxing because, you're like, you see how Mike Tyson is as a person, that would have been like too... You know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think with like Jackie Robinson, it was like, hey, if you know that you represent so much more because there is a Negro, so you got to take this on the chin. It's like even like what is that? Like Ray Charles, like when he went and they were like, oh, we want you because you're Ray Charles, but then they're like, oh, black people can't get in here, and at that point he's like, no, I got to make a stand. I'm not performing until things are desegregated, and then he can do Georgia on my mind.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And so in that way, that's why I try to look at it, where it's like sometimes it might be like, fuck, don't just want me because I'm black, but then also like you go speak there and you're probably gonna have a lot of the black constituency at the company come out to be like, all right,
Yeah, I know.
you know?
I know.
And
the end result is good. For
yeah, the
sure.
end result, but it's a lot to take on as an artist because you're the one
Yeah, exactly.
dealing with this shit.
Yeah,
You know, and it's like, you know,
I was hosting a conference, and all the speakers were men, almost all of them, until we got to one panel, and there was one woman on the panel, and she started speaking about diversity, and they were running long, and they wanted me to go out and stop her and interrupt her and tell her that we were out of time, and I was like, no. Absolutely not. How bad would that look? All men, and the one time we interrupt someone, it's a woman. I was like, no.
you just get on stage, shut up, lady.
I know. Nobody wants to hear about this stuff. Am I right?
Yeah, it's but like that's also like a good moment for your biopic. You know what I mean? Where you're just waiting and you're like, go, and you're like, I will not.
I will not. Absolutely.
I will not. Absolutely not.
Take my headphone off.
We don't even know what the woman was saying on stage. She was talking about diversity, and you're just like, hey, let her speak. And she's like, we don't need any diversity anymore. Let her speak.
Fuck all black people. Let her talk.
speak. She needs to speak because she's a woman. Jesus. Do you watch this is over? Do you watch Handmaid's Tale at all?
I tried watching the first episode, and my
happened?
husband was like, this softcore porn is awful.
What? Oh my god!
I was like, okay, we're not watching this anymore.
Oh my god! All right, I think you might need to want to watch it if you're ready to watch it. It's fun because like my girl, she watches it, and for her, it's like.
Do you watch it with her?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we watch it together in silence. We have a rule. That's the only show. There's two shows we watch in silence. That and Game of Thrones. Any other show we could talk shit, whatever. But like that show, like she watches, and because it's like Offred is like getting her freedom as a woman, you know what I mean, and like fighting back, whatever. And so she's like fucking into it. She's like, yeah, down with the patriarchy, right? And I'm just like, let me just shut up. But then I'm watching it, and I'm like, yeah, she's escaping slavery. You know what I mean? So we're both like watching it for different reasons. But then I also think about I'm trying to be more aware of the struggles of women and how to not contribute to those struggles, because I've been as a you know, heterosexual, straight, black man, I realize a lot of now the privileges that I have. It's like, even in a sense of like all like hetero people, it's like we can look at the opposite sex and we can make like judgments like, oh, I would, whatever.
Right.
But like if you're not, you could make that decision, but you can like kind of act on it or try to act on it without the worry of something else happening. Like even just that is just like such a mind fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just trying to be more like aware of those things. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of...
It's a lot to be aware of, though. It can be overwhelming.
It is. It's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially with comedy. Like it's like when I was doing your show, I was like, oh, everybody's gonna hate me here. Oh God.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
You were thinking
I was so uncomfortable.
Oh.
There was white women who didn't get squashed. It was a thing. It was just like a whole.
Oh God.
It was a whole.
Birthday party, and he seemed so upset about it the whole time. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, we had at this fucking show, right? And I'm doing these jokes, and like these women are talking, and I get pissed off. You know what I mean? Because when I come out, you're gonna have to watch me. You know what I mean? I'm on stage, so I stop talking, and they realize that everyone's like listening to them. I'm like, hey, what is this emergency? And they're like, so they're out of squash. I'm like, what the fuck, yo? Like these are jokes that I've written. This is art in front of your face, and you're complaining about the squash. Like I get it, but come on, it's me. It's me. What are we doing here? You know.
Yeah.
So, have you had any like mental health things? Like, have you been like depressed, super anxiety, and like how do you deal with it? No. Okay, great.
Yeah, I had like I don't know. I guess it was kind of like a breakdown. I don't even know how to talk about all this stuff because sometimes I'm like, was that a breakdown? Was that depression? Was that anxiety? But
what was it? What happened?
No, I broke up with my boyfriend and I got really upset and depressed. And that was the first time I started seeing a therapist.
Really?
But it only lasted like 3 months.
The therapist or the sadness?
The therapist.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I got really upset and then, I don't know, I think it was just a lot of things going on. But
therapy helped.
Therapy did help. And you know, I'm seeing a therapist now, but I've only been seeing her for like a few months. And she has a bit of a hearing problem.
Oh boy.
And so it just gets a little awkward, you know, having to repeat certain things because you're like in the moment of like emotion.
I said I hate everything. What? I said things suck right now. What did you say? Things are terrible. Oh, okay, yeah.
You seem really upset. Why are you yelling? Yeah. You have to write your prescription. Yeah.
I said it seems like people aren't listening to me. What? I said it seems like people don't listen. Huh? I wasn't listening. What? I had a therapist fall asleep on me.
Really?
Yeah.
That would crush me. Literally, I would be so depressed just from that.
Multiple times.
No. How could you go back after that?
Man, I was depressed, nigga. Why was I in the first place? I was depressed. How could you go back? What kind of idiot? I was a depressed idiot going back to the motherfucker. Like, so the last session, right? Because he's an older dude, and he was supposed to do like this thing where it's like, just like kind of like weird therapy or whatever. He's like one of the only people in New York who did it. So I kept going to this guy. So the last time I went, he fell asleep.
Oh.
And I just sat there in silence, and I had to think. I was like, so why am I still here? Should I come back here? Like, why is my insurance paying for this guy's naps right now? And then he wakes up, he says, oh man, I'm sorry. Did you see what happened there? I was like, yeah. He said, oh, I fell asleep. I said, I know you did. He said, yeah, so how does that make you feel? I said, what the fuck is it? You can't flip it back on me now. You can't ask me my feelings.
Oh
what?
God.
No. I told him it made me feel bad, and then he was just like, oh, so let's schedule another appointment. I was like, no, I think we've reached.
I would be so angry.
Pissed. Yeah,
I'd be so mad. I would feel like my problems were boring.
Yeah.
That would make me feel really bad about myself.
Yeah.
And then I might never go to a therapist again.
Yeah.
I mean, that would really fuck me up.
I'm at a point where it's like I'm looking for a new therapist, but it's just like, it's funny because it feels like dating-ish. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to have my therapist. My therapist going to be right. My therapist going to have a good job. You know what I mean? Be cute and all that shit. Like, that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to find a good therapist.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of therapy has really changed because I do remember it being more about listening. And now with behavioral therapy, they do give you advice and talk you through things. Is that not something you've seen? Or is that just my therapist telling me?
No, I think that's the thing. It's a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I do think that there is some truth to it. Like we were talking earlier about like all the things I was doing. I kind of like when I came out the hospital, I was like, you know what? I'm not going, like if I'm going to live, man. I'm going to do not like what I want to do, but I'm really going to focus on doing the things I love because I felt that I was doing so many other things that I could do and I felt I had to do, and I'll just say like in the sense of stand-up where it was like, you got to be out every night and you got to do this, you got to do 10 minutes. And I was doing all those things, but I was just like killing myself to do it. You know what I mean? And I was like, this is not fun anymore. This is not enriching and fulfilling to me. So I just kind of like cut that out. And once I started cutting that out, I realized I had so much more time, not necessarily free time, but time. And I was like, oh, I know how I can spend this time.
Yeah.
I can do this, developing these things. And I've just been like happier, but
it's such a good point because a lot of times people say that they want something like, oh, I want an HBO special or, oh, I want this. But do you also want all the things that you have to do to get there?
Yeah.
And a lot of times for me anyway, it's like, no, I actually don't want to do all of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to do all of that,
Yeah.
I
because like when you're working for yourself, you really have to think about like, how do I want to spend my day?
Yeah.
How do I want to spend the hours I have,
Exactly. It's in a sense it is currency, and also like the spending that currency I feel should be out of some kind of like love or giving back. It's like it's always an investment. So
Right.
like if I'm not this is not like I said, it's not monetary at all, but it's just like I feel like I spend it by giving love into the conversation, the thing that's being produced, and I don't know how that's going to affect people who listen to it. Hopefully it gives them something to be like, oh yeah, like, it's a good vibe, of a thing. It's a real conversation. But yeah, I gotta find a new therapist. I don't know if I feel this about therapists. I think therapy is great, right? But I also think because of social media's advent, people don't talk to each other really anymore.
Yeah.
It's very texty. It's very, and I feel like the craft of writing and sending these emojis and all that, it's just not the same as a real conversation. It's not the same. And I feel like a lot of people are lost because of it. I feel that way. I might be totally wrong. I don't know on Instagram. I know a lot of people look super happy. I don't know if everybody's that happy.
Yeah.
But I feel it and I'm like, oh, Instagram is a happy place and I'm not happy all the time. So I'm not going to be on Instagram all the time. But in my real life, be super happy sometimes.
I'm the same way. And a lot of people like in comedy use it to promote and to network. Yeah. I mean, I think Instagram is like the #1 networking tool now for comedians. And I just, it's like you have to post even if you don't feel like it, even if the picture doesn't represent who you are right now and like all this stuff. And it just always feels a little weird to me. Like even when I got my book deal, I wrote that I got it, but I had to write like an addendum. I was like, listen, this is a great thing, but not everything is perfect. And I just want to make that clear because like I'm very scared. I feel like maybe I should go back to my full-time job. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if this book is going to sell. It's like I signed this deal and I'm excited about it, but I just wanted everyone to know that it wasn't perfect. Like there was still a lot of things going on with me. Yeah. And I feel like I would have to do that with almost every post. Because it's like, woohoo, but also, I've had a fucked up weekend or whatever it is, Yeah. I don't know. Why do we feel like we have to always put on this like happy show?
I don't. I stopped. I tried. I don't want to say I tried to. Like I was aware enough of how social media can help with the presentation of yourself. So like you can, if you have like your head shot up and you only put those things like, oh, you're really doing it. You're doing it. Yeah. And for me, I kind of didn't like the way that people that were in my life would start treating me differently, that they knew me because they saw they saw all the things, and so they were like, "Oh, you're really doing." And I just hated that because I'm like, "No," I'm like, "You should know I'm not really doing it." I'm, you know,
Do you know me at all?
yeah, you know me at all. Like I took 5 trains to get here. I can't take an Uber here. Like you know, like shit is not great, you know. But and so when that started happening, I started thinking about beyond if the people close to me are acting like this.
Yeah.
What about the people who
don't know you.
have nothing? Yeah, who don't know me at all. And also the thing of like, as a comic, when I go out, like if I'm doing like a show on the road or whatever, and people like see me, they might have this like super connection to me that I might not be aware of, and also like something, you know, I think I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert for the most part. I think I get extroverted when I'm like kind of like but if someone comes up to me and is like, "Oh my God, I'm a big fan," for me it's like, what? Because I'm not used to that in New York. So I kind of started scaling back a little bit, and it was like, oh, I'll share what, not like I'm thinking, but some ideas on Twitter, and I'll write those out, the good, the bad, whatever. But Instagram, I'm looking at like more as like of a online
Curated.
Yeah, no, it's just like it's like an online photo album. It's like I don't have to post every day. It's like if something milestone-y happens in my career, I'll put it up. If I'm milestone in my relationship, I'll put that up. Because for me, I can go look back on my Instagram and be like, oh yeah, and just look at all the memories. It's not like, oh, I'm promoting, I stopped putting flyers on there. It's just really for me to look back and be like, oh yeah, it was a good year. I remember all those things. All these things matter to me.
So did you ever feel like, because you know that people in the industry follow you, do you ever feel like I have to show what I'm doing because I need them to see that I'm doing stuff and remember me and all that stuff?
I do feel that, and I know that because I don't do all that stuff, that is the risk that I take. I just know, like when I would post a lot and be really like prevalent on social, I know I used to get booked for a lot of shows, and since I've stopped like producing a lot of stand-up shows, I'm not booked as much. I also don't like reach out to people, which is my own thing.
Yeah.
And I usually don't hang out at chills for spot time. Like I'll hang out, like I'll more than likely come back to So Brave just to kick it because like I know you, versus going to like a hot show to be like, hey, maybe they'll throw me up.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'll hit you up and ask if I can do the show, and if not, that's cool. And if I go to the show, I'm literally hanging out. And yeah, it's just like I said, I'd rather be known for the work, because it also scares me that like the comedian part is my occupation, you know? And when I'm not working, I don't want to be at the office. You know, I like if I'm out and I'm like eating dinner or something, like, and I think about this like in future times, like if I do everything I want to do and people actually know me, I want people to treat me like I treat Paul Rudd, like when I see him around.
You see Paul Rudd around
all the
a lot?
time.
Oh, really?
I bump into him
Where?
all the time, like at a Hale and Hardy, at a Dwayne. He just be in New York. Paul, you seen Paul Rudd out in these streets? Paul Rudd's in New York, yo. He cool as shit. Oh. He just chilling. He open up door. He'll hold the door for you and shit. I'm like, yo, thanks, Paul. Cool. You know, but it's like I want to be in my career. I want at the end to be like that, where he still does his things, but he is not like a celebrity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's my thing. Like, I feel like the Instagram, social media, you can create the celebrity and you can chase it, which is cool because you can also monetize that. You can do all these wonderful things. But for me, I'm more concerned about my career and my personal mental health and well-being. And I won't sacrifice that for likes, but I still get hyped when I put up a new picture, a new something. I'm like, yo, they gonna like this one. it's a weird dopamine that
I know. I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what I studied, and I have a degree in digital design, and I was a designer in the corporate world. And that was the goal. It was like, how do you make something addictive? How do you make something that people can't help themselves from using? And this was, 15 years ago. But now looking back, I'm like, that was wrong. Like the whole, like everything about the incentive with apps is how do we get more users and how do we keep them on for longer and longer? And that's the incentive. And the incentive is actually hurting us. Yes. That incentive is actually making people sadder and I think it's kind of awful. And that's why I was like talking about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is like the one thing that everybody's on, but everybody hates it. Like within 30 seconds, you're bored. Like I wish all social media was like that.
LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn.
The LinkedIn approach.
Like you just go and you're just like, ew. And you like have to do something else.
It's so, I mean, it's funny to me. And I think like for both of us where it's like we're like artists full time and getting out of that cycle. Like I worry about like the generation now that's like getting into the workforce and how much social media impacts like their day to day for their job or whatnot. So it's like they're on social media and they have to be like aware of their personal brand.
Oh,
like,
I know.
You know what I mean? It's like they have to do all these things because they're like, oh, well, I'm going to work here. And then like if you say something that is wrong or someone disagrees with, that can also cost you your real job. It's just like such a weird thing. And I know from my vantage point of like growing up with social media and all that shit, it's like I always had like a dumb name, but then when I was online, usually I would just put like my own name because I'm an idiot. Yeah. But then I would also try to take accountability for whatever I said on social media. So it's not like, oh, it's just social media. Sometimes I'd be like, who gives a shit? But most times I'd be like, hey, no, this is what I feel. This is right. This is wrong. I wouldn't put this online if I wouldn't say this in real life. And if I would say it in real life, I would have to stand behind those things. And so like that's always been like my filter versus now where people just like, fuck it, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. Yeah,
but like that's part of the reason why I left my job is because I really wanted to be able to say whatever I wanted to say. And if you are a representative of that company and they see it in your bio or whatever, then that's your liability all of a sudden. And I didn't want that, to be in that box.
How long did it take for you to make that decision to leave?
It took probably almost a year.
Really?
Yeah, because the problem was that I was actually really happy at my job. It's one of the best places to work. And I like the people. I met my husband there. Like it was one of the places that I just felt.
That's sexual harassment, by the way, but continue.
I know. He actually did harass me. No, the funny thing is he kept asking me out.
Really?
No, yeah. And actually, according to the sexual harassment rules, if you ask someone out more than 2 or 3 times and they say no every time and you keep asking, that is sexual harassment. Even though
you could get a few shots. You get 3 shots. So basically, you could ask 3 times. That 4th time is a problem. 3.
Yeah. But he kept asking, and I kept saying no. And then finally, he got tickets to see Louis C.K., which is like ironic now that that's what I said yes to finally.
Wow.
This was 6 years ago.
Wow. Loving this story so far.
I couldn't say no. I couldn't say no to Louis C.K.
Wow.
And who can, really, when you think about it?
Oh my God, that's good. Oh man. Whew. Yo, when Sarah shoots, man, she goes from the other side of the court and scores them, boy. I couldn't say no to Lucy K. Who can say no? Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Oh, that's good.
So anyway, when I was like, oh, I want to leave, everyone was like, but you're so happy. And it was like, I was happy there, but I wasn't happy with the work that I was doing. I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't care about it. And you spend 40 to 60 hours doing it a week. And it's like, that's a lot of time.
It's a lot. It's one of those things where like I look back at like my corporate America time and I was like, yeah, I was making money, but it's also like, man, like they were paying me to do a job. But they weren't paying me to do a job. They were paying somebody to do this job. And so the personal worth, it's like, well, what is my time doing this thing worth? You know?
Yeah.
And now it's like if I'm doing anything and it's not, things need to be financially viable, but you could also do things that aren't financially viable if you're like, no, but my time is worth more because I'm doing this thing.
Yeah, and there's this comedian. She has a funny joke about how like she's working and she does something for somebody and they're like, oh, thank you for your time, and it was this concept of like, wait, I didn't even realize I was giving you my time. Like you didn't. It's not like a concept, but yeah, you are giving time, and like all you get is. What you get. But.
You get what you get. I mean, it's even like with like this podcast where it's just like, I always hope that the guest like has a good time doing it. And even like when conceptualizing this, because this took like a year and a half to kind of figure out what I wanted it to be and how I wanted it to sound and all that shit. But it's like, I hated being a guest on on podcasts where like either I didn't like just fuck with the person. I was just like, oh yeah, I got to do podcasts, you know, because I'm a comic, and you do these things, and then after you're like, what the fuck did I just do? I just wasted my time for an hour talking about nothing with somebody I'm probably never going to talk to again because they're going to either quit comedy or not do podcasting or whatever. And it's just like, I just did this thing. What the fuck am I doing? I'm reclaiming my time.
Oh, nice.
Got that from a black woman. Don't know which one, so I'm not all the way
You
woke.
reclaimed it from a black woman.
Yeah, I reclaimed it from a black. Do you know who said that?
Maxine Waters.
Maxine Waters, that's right.
Yeah.
Maxine Waters, that's right. Reclaiming my time, reclaiming her name, Maxine Waters.
I love how
Thank you.
polite everyone is in Congress. That's like, well, the gentleman from South Carolina, please. Just my friend from South Carolina obviously doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. They're just so proper.
That is political correctness. That's what that is. And we're trying to be like that in society, but it's like, no, that's supposed to be reserved for politics because you don't want the emotional connection. You know what I mean? But now in the outside political world, we're all trying to be politically correct. We're like, oh, you can't offend me. I can't believe you defended. And it's like, no, you can get offended. You can also have someone apologize for that because someone can offend you from ignorance and you just educate them. And if they are someone who is willing to accept that, they can be like, oh, okay, and then you could move forward. You could have a disagreement or whatever.
I think being offended is such a useless emotion, though.
Really? I do too, to a certain degree.
Because what good is it? I mean, if you disagree with something, say that you disagree and why, but just to be offended.
And not but see, that's the thing I think, when we're talking about being the diverse or the diverse person, it's like, I could get offended by it, and then I'm like, well, why am I offended? And then what's the next step? Because it's not
turn
just
that around on me.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I be listening. I be listening in conversation shit.
The name of this podcast, I be listening.
I be listening. That was the original name. I be listening. Then it became You Good? The official title was You Good? Because I be listening. I meant to a podcast with Mike Brown, presented by Loudspeakers Network and Mike Brown. I'm such an idiot. I don't even know why. I don't know why people listen to this, but I do appreciate it. Because it's like, I don't feel like... It's like, yeah, why? I understand that... Okay. I'm going to ask you this.
Uh-oh.
Now, the only reason I say this is because... Oh, I didn't. Chris wasn't here last week, so I didn't tell you this idea. Because sometimes, I'll have ideas about things I want to say on stage, and I always just say them on a podcast first because it's like, I need to ask somebody this. It's like when people remember, but it's not like a bit necessarily right now. Okay, so I think black people in this country. Your face right now, you're like, oh my God, we're gonna die. Okay, I just think this. I think this. Sometimes, I look at all the different. Minority groups who've advanced in America and whatnot, and I feel like black people did so much advancing, and then everybody came and just blew past us. You know what I mean? In a sense of equality or whatever. And I think it's because of marketing. You know what I mean? Because okay, see, already Sarah is out. She's already gone.
No, I'm in.
Okay,
I'm in.
Okay, because the thing is we always wanted black power, and I think that's very scary to people. I don't know if you are Caucasian American, but I'm going to ask you, are you?
I'm first generation, but yeah.
Okay, great. So if not you, I'm not going to, but if a Caucasian American, you hear black power, black power, they might be like, oh shit, right? But if we were yo, black pride, then I think it might have been a little easier to digest. Why I say that? Because gay pride parade. When it comes to, it's just gay, it's just pride, Latino pride, it's pride. Mm-hmm. But when we say power, I think that scares, because people get scared of power. You can't be really scared of pride. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yo, I'm proud to be black. When it's say a lot, I'm black and I'm proud, cool, happy. Yeah. But when you say power, you're if they get too much power.
Yeah, well, I will heartily disagree with you,
okay.
And I will.
This is why we have these things.
I will use.
Still using it on stage somehow.
Michael Che's bit. I don't know if you've seen it. Michael Che's bit about Black Lives Matter.
Fun fact: Michael Che's real name is Michael Che Brown. I'm joking.
Okay,
I'm joking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So he's talking about how people are offended by Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. Just matter. Just matter. That. Yeah. That is the thing that pisses them off. And then he goes back, civil rights. Just be civil. That's all they were asking for, just to be civil. So I would argue that it doesn't matter what the name is. people are going to freak out no matter what.
I agree. No, I agree. But I'm talking about from the beginning.
Maybe.
You know?
You think we shouldn't have come out the gate with the power?
I think we went for power. We should have. I mean, because we fought for equality. We've been fighting for equality, and then it was like we started getting more equality, and then we went to power. Where I think that like, if we went more for equality,
yeah,
we would have the power. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
I mean, there's no real answer to this. It's just like thoughts that like I just have like, oh, why is it like we can have like the Pride Parade on West 4th and it's fucking popping, but then like the African American parade is like 2 blocks in Harlem. It's like a train stop. You know what I mean? Like, why is it just that? Why can't it be this huge, beautiful thing too? The same way when like it's like the West Indian Day Parade where it's like all over Eastern Parkway.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole celebration. But why can't we have a celebration on that scale, especially in New York? It's like just those things that I think about. It's not like a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's just like, what about us? You know,
what about us?
What
I mean,
about us?
marketing is important.
I think
that's basically how Trump got elected. Is
marketing.
Really good marketing. Whereas like climate change scientists don't have good marketing. Everything is too complicated, and so people don't listen to it.
They need you. They need you to do some graphics for them.
What are they talking about today? Autism and the vaccines. Whoever came up with that bogus thing that connected those two things together.
I think it was Jenny McCarthy.
Great marketing. And it spread like wildfire. And, marketing is really important.
It's...
Unfortunately. It shouldn't be. It should be just like, here, do this, do it, Shouldn't have to sell things.
Yeah, it should. I mean,
vaccines,
Yeah, if it like America's a cold game, man. It's a cold... It's like, I think about even like when talking about mental health, I'm like, would this conversation be, how prevalent is this conversation in other countries? Like if you're in like Brazil, there might be people with mental health issues, but I think that because there's so many different like ethnicities here and different backgrounds and all these things and our sense of identity, we have so many things before we can even get to like American. You know what I mean? We're not like really American until we leave the country. But even if we do leave the country,
you can only be American when you're a tourist.
Yeah, you can only be an American when you're a tourist.
Yeah,
that's it. It's like it took like 9/11 for a lot of Americans to be like, oh shit, we're American. You know what I mean? It's like because it's.
But now we're too American.
But I also think that a lot of us are not happy with how America is, so we don't have American pride. And now American pride might be co-opted by one like political faction, and then it's like
been,
and so you can't say, like my thing was when I was on tour, I walked around with I had like an American flag bandana, and I just walked around with it on my hip like a gangster. And because I was like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, if I'm a gangster, my gang is America. And we're like in the South or whatever. And it was just like interesting talking to these people who probably were like super racist, but they saw me with the American flag, so they're like more willing to talk to me. And then we're just like, hey, so
we're on the same team.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, you know what I mean? Because they just think that, I might necessarily hate America. It's like, no, I don't hate America. There's a lot of things wrong with it.
Right.
But I look at America like my family. I got fucked up people in my family, but they're still family. You got to figure it out. Like I'm not leaving America. I'm not leaving New York.
Yeah.
I might leave the city because I need some land, but like I'm not leaving. So I'm here.
But do you identify first as a human and then as an American?
I think I identify black first.
Black first?
Yeah, before anything black. Because I think black is, I think no matter where you are in the world, people will identify me as black and then might treat me a certain way. I really believe that. Also, I haven't really traveled the world, so that's so this theory might be like I'm supposed to go to Ireland sometime this year, so I'll see how that is.
Oh, I love Ireland.
Yeah, see, look at you. I love Ireland. So I don't know if they're going to treat me like black there, but I also know Ireland is like black Irish. So like there's all these different things. So I think I go black first, and then I'd go human, even though I know I should be going like human. Then black. But it's just like when growing up and hearing how important it is to know that you are this, and from my family.
Okay, so let me ask you something. This is going to be controversial, but how would you feel if you asked somebody, do you identify as white or human, and they said white, then human?
Then they're racist. I'm joking. Piece of shit. No, I'm joking. That
would be weird, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's weird because if they're saying that in America, it feels, because the reason I say black is because it's like I'm starting out on a disadvantage. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like black. So I can say human and be like, oh yeah, human, and then black. It's like it's like this constant shift of things, because there's sometimes like when I'm like walking outside in the streets by myself, I feel like, and no one's around me, I feel like quote unquote a man, and I'm like, now I'm going by man rules, meaning like I'm not, and it's like I'm not worried about like a man trying to like have sex with me, even though it could happen. But it's not my first thing. If I'm walking down a dark alley, I'm like, oh, I'm a 6'3" man, black man. Like nobody's gonna fuck with me. And that's how I think, and that's how I can move. But it's just like, this is just my avatar. It's my shell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't really mean anything. Also, if I'm in sometimes when I'm doing comedy and I'm in a place and it's like I'm one of the only 4 black people there, it's just like, I don't look at myself as a comedian, even though I am the only comedian there to perform. I see myself as black, and I have to make a thing to let you guys know I see myself as black, and I'm gonna do my jokes, whatever. But just like, hey, for you 4 people out here, I see us, and for you other people here, I want you to see me. We're all gonna have a good time, but I also want you to know that yes, I am black. So as we're having a good time, if you don't have any other black people, whatever, we're all having a good time. It was this black guy, right? When I'm like, if I'm at like a certain comedy, like if I'm at a comedy club in New York, it's just a bunch of comics, I'm just a comic. I'm just Mike. You know what I mean? And it's weird because I think, I don't know if it's like a human thing, or if it's a person of color thing, or if it's an artist, it's like a thing, but it's like what I feel that I am, like I'm always me, but I feel like certain things take precedent depending on where I'm at. You know, like in this realm here, I'm Mike. You know, I'm not worried about like black or anything like that, but like we can talk about these different things, like an answer from this side, like, oh, how do you feel as a this? Like, what would you say?
I'd say human.
Okay.
I think, but it is interesting being like, because my husband's white, but he's my best friend, and I feel 100% comfortable with him. Obviously, I married him, so. But he does know that I'm black, and he knows that I'm going to have a different perspective on things. Like when Trump got elected, the sweetest thing he said to me was, "I know this is different for you," like, and that really, I appreciated that because as a white guy, it was different for him. You know, he didn't feel the sense of like fear, that I felt. He was worried, but he knew that it was a different thing.
It's funny because like when the whole Trump thing happened, like I wasn't scared, but I was like, well, back to the drawing board, because it's like I've always voted for the lesser of the two evils, and the only time like I feel like I voted for somebody who I wanted to get in there was Barack. And so when all these things were happening, I was like, well, I hope Hillary wins, and I'm gonna vote for Hillary at that point. But it still was like, as a black person in America, we barely get any wins. You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, we're all just gonna be fucked. It's not just gonna be. Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing for me, it was like being in an earthquake. You know, when people are in an earthquake and they see the ground move, all of a sudden it just shakes their whole understanding of how ground works. When he won, it was like, this doesn't make sense. I was having like a malfunction or something. I was like, up is down, down is up. Nothing makes sense. And that's kind of the fear. I was just like, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew it was going to be something that I wasn't expecting. And yeah, I mean, I thought that it would be better than it is, actually. I was being optimistic that maybe it wouldn't be as bad as it is. And I was wrong.
Do you think he's going to win again?
Well, I think we need to nominate the right person.
Do you have any, thoughts right now?
Honestly, I saw a poll yesterday that almost 50% of Americans think he's doing a good job. And when I saw that...
Can you get Jax? Okay, cool.
When I saw that, I just said Joe Biden is the only one who can beat this guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel that I think that oh, hey, what's up? So I think that there's the issue of maybe I like Cory Booker, but I don't think he's going to do it. I like Kamala. I don't think everybody's going to. It's one of those things where it's like.
Well, I think Biden with Harris as VP, I think that would be a good ticket.
I think it would be a good look, but we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. So, okay, as we come to a close, what do you want to plug? as we come to a close. Yeah, I abruptly stopped. I don't give a fuck. I told you he was going to go an hour. I told you.
Yeah, I told you. So Sarah Cooper is me, and you can check me out at sarahcpr.com, Sarah CPR on Twitter, Sarah CPR on Instagram, because I am organized.
Wow, I love it. I love how the brand is strong. You can check me at Yo Mike Brown on everything. Also, I just started a social media for this podcast at You Good Pod. Check that out. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Sarah, thank you for coming in.
Shout out to you, Mike Brown.
Oh, so blessed. And I'm going to be on your podcast, I think, very soon.
Yes.
Whenever
yes.
work it out. Yeah, because I have nothing but time and bad ideas.
Right. So get on it before I stop doing it.
Yes,
so.
okay. Yeah, that's okay, I'll cut that last part out, but yes.